So I've suffered from depression for as far back as I can remember. As a child, I did not know there was a name for it. And because I did not have a word to describe what was going on inside of me, because I didn't know that depression was a thing, and that other people also suffered from this thing, I internalized it. I can remember an overwhelming feeling of anguish and othernessness, as far back as kindergarten even. I recall clearly the reality of sadness, isolation, and even paranoia enveloping me as I sat Indian style in that little circle on the floor of my very first classroom. A part of, but apart from, everyone else. I could never put my finger on it, this feeling of alienation. Of course, there were happy times, joyous times, times I felt what I imagined every other kid was feeling. But the sadness was never far away. It was that sadness, that isolation, that I internalized. In my child's mind, I struggled to identify the source of the feelings. Like, where were they coming from? Why was I so chronically tormented? Because I was not equipped with the terms, I didn't have the coping mechanisms to navigate the emotional and psychological chasms. And because I was not aware of the medical studies which would have explained me to myself, I deduced that the reasons must then be external. I thought, therefore, my sadness must be related to my environment and the people in it. My 5-year-old self began to reach blindly for reasons explaining the hell I was living through. The thinking being, I must feel this way for a reason. As a child, my nucleus was considerably small and regulated. My entire world consisted of my immediate family and the kids and faculty at school. Thus, it would be from this network of people I began to shield myself from. There it was. I was suffering because my mother didn't want me, and my family didn't love me. I was paranoid because I was ostracized and ridiculed at school. I didn't belong to anyone, and I didn't belong anywhere either. Of course, none of this was true, but you couldn't tell me that, and because of that, I wanted to die, or so I thought. I remember groping about my surroundings, melancholy and disoriented for what felt like lifetimes on end. I was lost in this fog of confusion and anguish, lonely, even though I was being raised alongside 6 siblings. It was during this period that a preoccupation with the sweet release of death began to take me over. I began to think incessantly about different ways I could accomplish the act of killing myself without subjecting myself to too much pain. I began to look with disdain at almost everyone around me. If they loved me, I wouldn't be so unlovable. If they welcomed me into their world, I wouldn't feel so lonely. If only they stopped laughing at me, maybe I wouldn't feel so ugly, so awkward, so unwanted. I thought, if I could find a way to end my life without too much discomfort, I'd be killing, no pun, 2 birds with 1 stone. I put an end to the hell I was enduring while simultaneously punishing those who created that hell. It was on such a day that I overheard a few of my siblings excitedly talking about the upcoming 50th State Fair. At that time, the most thrilling events I could partake in was skipping school or going to the beach with my mother, so thoughts of the flurry of lights and music of the fair intrigued me. I let my imagination float as they animatedly talked about all the rides they'd ride and all the ono-kind food they'd scarf down. That's when it occurred to me. Clearly, my suicide would have to be rescheduled. No question. If I killed myself too soon, before the fair, it would diminish the impact on all involved. They'd bury me, change clothes, and then head out to have fun, forgetting about me altogether. Then there was the most compelling reason I couldn't kill myself yet. I didn't want to miss out on the fair either. This is how my child's mind logicalized the situation. Yes, I was suffering, but I was also 5. The day the fair arrived, all went as planned. Our home was alive with anticipation and light-hearted laughter as everyone scrambled to shower and dress for the festivities. Quite a feat when you understand that this was over 40 years ago, when one bathroom was the norm in most houses. Everyone thus groomed, we packed into the cars and headed out. We rode all the rides and played all the games, yes. Masterfully, we juggled the hard-won stuffed animals and plastic prizes. We devoured all the Simon, Manapuas, and Malasadas we could humanly handle. We had the time of our lives, me included. It was every bit worth staying alive for. I can say emphatically that the 50th State Fair saved my life, but it only came once a year. Sticks and stones, but that's not what killed her. It was the audacity. It was Mira's backhand slam into fleshed reflection. It was the dereliction. It was the distorted portions of sin and skin of sin. It was the bones what did it. How they caved, crumbling like ruins of falling empires, beneath heaving tongues heavy with the hatred of self-incrimination. Fragments dispersed like birth in the aftermath of pre-calculated death. It was the scars, no doubt. That and the nerve. Mind you, the marrow had barely cooled when the memories came crawling. Spiraling spiders from crack and facade, it was the names that nailed it. Coffin splintered in the thrust of pronunciation, better that than the truth. It only hurts. Autopsies or autobiographies written in shorthand. Headstones, though wordy, never mention the sticks and stones. But if they did.
This web series, No Suicide Before Recess, is for a reason. And that reason being, why the name No Suicide Before Recess, right? But when I was a kid, I've suffered from depression for as long as I can remember. But I didn't have a word for it, you know? I didn't have a word for it because I didn't know it was a thing and that other people suffered from this thing. I internalized it, you know? But what I also realized is that it comes and it goes. Like sitting in a classroom as a kindergartner. I remember sitting Indian style, quote unquote, on the floor. You know, I was among all these other kids and they were all happy-go-lucky. I didn't feel that way. I didn't feel like I even belonged. You know, then the lessons came. Math, 1 + what = what. You understand? I was like, dag, I can't. But then that bell would ring and it was recess. And we would run out and lose our ever-loving minds. I can't speak to everyone's experience with depression. Mine is chronic and it's prolonged. But you know, there comes times when the darkness breaks. You know? And then all of a sudden that sound of that train doesn't sound like a death invitation. You hear it? All of a sudden this passing car doesn't look like a death invitation. All of a sudden there's laughter, we laugh, we joke, we feel good. Those days come, that's why we gotta get out of this thinking that it's never gonna end, because we know it's gonna end. I'm telling you it's gonna end. No suicide before recess just means hold on. Hold on until that bell rings. Hold on until you can feel the sun. Hold on till you can laugh and play and run. Or just hold on, you know? It doesn't matter what happens, what lessons you're going through. That's life. That's life. That's the lessons of life. But you know what? After every lesson, there's going to come a recess. No suicide before recess. Hold on, y'all. Close, right? I think what people who do not suffer with mental illness or depression, anxiety, PTSD, whatever you want to call it, I think one of the things that y'all don't realize is how close death is to some of us every day. What you would see as ordinary things, that car going by, stairway, freeway, these are ordinary things to you. But for some of us, it's a way out. For some of us, those way outs are so close. Like that. All it takes is to walk in front of one of them cars, or to jump off this bridge, or there's so many doors open to the out, and that's what this is about. How do we close those doors? Suicide is 100% preventable. The message this morning that I wanted to share was that I had to seek out that space. I had to seek out that private space to talk to y'all openly, without prying ears or eyes. And I realize that that's what we go through every day. Those of us who suffer with mental illness and those who don't. Every single day it seems like we're seeking out little corners of this earth in where we can be ourselves, where we can put the guards down, where we can breathe, where we can be ourselves, where we can wash that stupid smile off our faces that we had to carry all day long just to make other people feel comfortable. I had to seek that out. We have to seek it out every day. The message is, it ain't about us. If we're feeling down and we know that we are suffering from depression, anxiety, all this stuff, it's the depression, it is the anxiety, it's the chemical imbalance. It's not anyone doing anything to us. If you're one of the people that love us who do suffer with mental illness, whether it's depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, whatever, it's not about you either, So say this happens. Say you come home to your loved one, and this loved one is trying to take care of you, is trying to be there for you, and you're the one that's suffering from mental illness, right? And right now is a very bad day for you. It is your responsibility, my responsibility, to say to that loved one, hey, listen, I'm not in a good place right now. This is how I'm feeling. Describe what you're feeling. So if I come across, kind of rough or whatever, it's not you. It's just I'm really not in a good space right now. And so, now if you're the person, the loved one that comes home, and you're like, hey, you're in a good mood, you had a good day, and your loved one that suffers from mental illness is just not receptive, right? And they tell you this. They tell you, they're like, hey, not today. Today is just rough. Today is hard for me. I'm kind of suffering right now. It's your responsibility as one of our loved ones to take yourself out of the ingredients and know that it has nothing to do with you, and say, okay, I got you. I understand that. What do you need? Do you need space? I can just give you some space. You know what I mean? If that's the solution. Do you need me to just sit here with you? I believe that if these two things happen more often, the line of communication would be so much greater. And I believe the survival rate, because what happens when we do survive our tendencies? What happens when we do survive our thoughts on suicide? So this is it. What else am I going to share? When I was still in college, I think that was the first time and the closest time I got to succeeding, or even getting that close to succeeding in suicide. My literary paper had just came out, and it was anticlimactic, I think. I was putting on these poetry slams and going to school and raising my daughter, and I just looked around, and what was it all for? And so I made arrangements to take my daughter to a friend of mine's mom's house. And then the plan was to have her father pick her up, Sunday morning. This must have been Friday night or something. I went home, and I turned off all the lights, and it's comical, really. I always wondered where people got straight razors from. I never knew how to find them. So I ended up breaking one of my little cheap big razors to finally get the blades out. And I sat there in the red light in the entryway to my bathroom. And I wasn't scared, but I thought about my mom, my biological mom. She didn't want me. Actually, she wanted to get an abortion, and the mom that raised me, her sister, pretty much saved my life at the time. But I thought about how that screwed with my head, all those years, thinking and feeling your mom, even your own mom didn't want you, And I thought about my daughter, and I realized how kids internalize things. I had no idea what my birth mother was going through, what was in her mind, or anything like that. And it wasn't too much later that I found out that she suffered from depression as well. I thought about my daughter, and I couldn't trust those around me to keep my secret and to tell her that I was sick, and that's how I died. I was afraid she'd find out the truth and then think that she wasn't worth staying alive for, and I wasn't going to have another human being go through that like I went through that. And so what kept me alive was basically responsibility. I made a pact. I said, well, as long as you're raising your daughter, you're going to stay here because she didn't ask to be here. And she's a beautiful, beautiful human being, and you're not gonna leave that cross on her shoulder to bear. And that's why I'm here still.
I gotta admit, there are times when my daughter nor my son were any match for this darkness, you know. And I guess when I think about having survived that and now coming through, my son's getting ready to graduate this school year. I have a beautiful granddaughter, you know. I'm still here. And life is beautiful, you know. Like I said before, those moments, they come and they go, and it's worth staying here for. I'm telling you that right now, it's worth staying here for. And you're not by yourself. I got to remind myself, like you got to remind me sometimes, I'd appreciate it, to say, the journey stick around, you know. It's worth staying here for. There's more moments coming up. Stuff like that. No suicide before recess, y'all.